This is the story of a soldier who, because of his convictions, refused to carry a gun to war. Pretty ridiculous, right? I mean, who does that? Who joins the army and then refuses to carry a gun? But this is no ordinary story. This is the story of an American soldier who not only succeeded in surviving the war, but also ended up saving the lives of 75 of his colleagues. This is the story of Desmond Doss. Are you a firm believer in self-development and mental transformation? Then this channel is for you. Because here at Heart Right, we provide you with content, with information that challenges you to question your mindset and thus becoming a better person. This content ranges from stories that inspires you, podcasts, reactions, reviews, and on a lighter note, music to help you go through every day of your life. If all I have said interests you, then you are encouraged to hit the subscribe button and also gently caress the notification bell in order not to miss on any of our content. Now back to our story. The year is 1942 and this story takes us to Lynchburg, Virginia in the United States of America. 23-year-old Desmond Doss decides to enlist in the army. This was in response to the attack of the Japanese on Pearl Harbor, which marked the entrance of the United States into World War II. Desmond was born to William Thomas Doss and Bertha Doss, and he had two siblings, Audrey, an elder sister, and Harold, a younger brother. Desmond, together with his siblings, were raised as devout Seventh-day Adventists and taught to observe the Sabbath, abhor violence, and live a vegetarian lifestyle. This upbringing will form the basis of Desmond's convictions and beliefs, as we will see later on in his life. Desmond attended the Park Avenue Seventh-day Adventist Church School until the 8th grade, after which he withdrew from school and found a job in order to assist his family during the Great Depression. From the early years of his life, Desmond radiated a certain level of kindness and empathy that will later be seen in his life as a soldier. Like on one occasion, when Desmond was still a child, he had walked several miles in order to donate blood to an accident victim, a complete stranger, after hearing about the need for donors over a local radio. A few days later, Desmond will again walk that long stretch of road to donate more blood. At the age of 18, Desmond dutifully registered for the draft as was required and worked at the Newport News Naval Shipyard until the breakout of the war, where he decided that he was going to join active military service. He believed that his religious convictions do not permit him to take the life of anyone, not even the life of his enemies. So he decided that he wouldn't carry a gun to war. His decision did not sit well with the army because to them it didn't make any sense. Desmond was labeled a conscientious objector, a label which he vehemently rejected and hated, and rather preferred to be referred to as a conscientious cooperator. A conscientious objector status is reserved for individuals who for their religious beliefs show great aversion to war and are hence excluded from active military service. It should be noted that Desmond had the choice of not joining the active military service, but instead he decided to join because he believed that he could contribute his own quota towards the war effort. While Desmond was making plans on how he could assist in the war, the army had different plans for him. Because of his insistence on not carrying a gun, Desmond decided that he would be a medic, but rather the army sent him to the rifle company in hopes that he will be kicked out if he refuses to carry a rifle. As a result of his stance, boot camp became a hell for Desmond, as his commanding officers and fellow soldiers made it too difficult for him to even stay, because they couldn't understand why anybody will make such a decision and still insist on staying in the army. His fellow soldiers will ostracize him, bully him, curse him, call him all sorts of names in a bid to make him change his mind. Some will even say that he should man up and carry up a rifle, that he was a sissy, but still Desmond insisted on non-violence, on not carrying a gun. On other occasions, his fellow soldiers will throw boots at him while he was praying beside his bed. Nobody wanted to be friends with Desmond because the soldiers believed that friends had each other's back, and a friend who refuses to carry a gun is useless to anybody and wouldn't be of any help, but rather be a liability. On one occasion, a fellow soldier even threatened him by saying, "Desmond, when we get into combat, I'll make sure you don't come back alive." But all these threats meant nothing to Desmond Doss because he believed that his convictions were right and that his pursuit was a righteous one. His commanding officers were no better. They too had their own plans. They came up with reasons to see that he was kicked out of the army. One of such reasons was declaring him mentally unfit to serve in the army. Another reason they sought to use so as to kick him out was accusing him of disobeying a direct order to carry a gun. Things will begin to look better for Desmond when his fellow soldiers and commanding officers realized that he had a certain way of treating blisters on their feet, which they got from training. They also observed that Desmond held no grudge against those that maltreated him and would often offer water from his canteen to those that were exhausted or thirsty from training. This earned him the respect of his colleagues and commanding officers. Desmond Doss will go on to serve in combat missions on the islands of Guam, Leyte, and Okinawa. During those missions, Desmond will demonstrate extraordinary bravery and heroism, as he will often put himself in harm's way trying to provide medical care and aid to those who were wounded. He will show little concern for the bullets that were whizzing and flying past by him and the explosions going off all around him. This endeavor on countless occasions will often bring him near enemy lines. He will be so close that he will often overhear Japanese voices. His exploits and bravery during this mission will earn Desmond the respect and trust of his fellow soldiers and commanding officers. He will go on to be awarded the Bronze Star for his actions in these missions. This will not be the height of his achievement, as the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge will be the climax of it all. On May 5th, 1945, a Saturday, which is a Sabbath to Desmond Doss, his battalion will receive an order to take control of an area known as the Maida Escarpment, otherwise nicknamed by the Americans as Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge consists of a 400 feet high cliff in which the Americans had to climb over to reach a plateau. The Japanese army had a plan to wait out until all the Americans had climbed up the plateau before attacking them, a plan which will prove deadly and cost the Americans, and particularly Desmond's battalion, more than 1/3 of its men. Desmond in this battle will go on as usual doing what Desmond does, helping those who are wounded and carrying them back to safe treatment stations where they could receive aid. The Americans will fight for every inch of that plateau with their blood and sweat. And when the Americans had thought that they have taken control of the ridge, a huge counter-attack by the Japanese will send the American soldiers retreating, as the Japanese army will come out in swarms, waves after waves, descending on the Americans and taking them all by surprise. This will force the Americans to give an order for all soldiers to retreat, and in that process leaving a lot of wounded soldiers behind. All but one soldier will obey that order, and that soldier will be Desmond Doss. The thought that these soldiers who were left for dead, if captured by the Japanese, will be severely tortured didn't sit well with Desmond Doss, and so he couldn't abandon them. Desmond will remain on the ridge, moving from one wounded soldier to the other, carrying that soldier and bringing him back safe to the edge of the cliff, where he will lower the soldier using a tourniquet, and while doing so he will say, "Lord, please, one more, let me just save one more," and then he will run back into the battlefield amidst the gunfire and the shelling of the Japanese. He will repeat this severally over and over again over a stretch of several hours, while at the same time dodging Japanese bullets and gunfire. By nightfall, Desmond will have saved almost 75 of his fellow soldiers and have brought them back to safety. The Americans will later on take control of Hacksaw Ridge after a gruesome, bloody and extended battle. The news of Desmond's feat will reach and spread across the rank and file of the army, and it will earn him the respect of all the soldiers. And as a result of this feat, Desmond will later on be awarded the Medal of Honor for his bravery and valor during this battle. A few weeks later, Desmond will be wounded by a Japanese grenade as he tried kicking it away from its fellow soldiers. The grenade will explode, leaving shrapnels in his legs. Desmond will then give himself treatment as best as he could, and while trying to get away to a treatment station, his shoulder will be shattered by a Japanese sniper's bullet. These injuries will mark the end of Desmond Doss' active service in the military. Desmond will then be evacuated from the battlefield and then subsequently in the October of that same year flown to America to receive treatment for his wounds. A year later in 1946, Desmond Doss will be diagnosed with tuberculosis, which he contracted during his combat missions in Asia. After several years of treatment, Desmond's left lung will then be surgically removed with a few of his ribs. He will then go on to live his life with only a single lung. Desmond Doss will then die in 2006 at the age of 87 after his only lung failed him. Are you inspired by this story? Let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. And remember to click the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. Thank you.